Virgo, hello there, my beautiful friends. We're going to do your general tarot reading for late December, moving into early January 2026. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know, I appreciate each and every single one of you. So let's get right down to business as always and start you off with an oracle card here, just so we could dip our toes in energy and see what's happening for the lovely Virgo collective. I hope you're all doing fabulous and fantastic, my friends. Let's get it going here. My guide spirit team, talk to me. What do we got for these beautiful Virgos? Late December, early January. We are all up in the holiday season, my good friends. I hope you're having a great one. So let's see what energies, messages, insights we could take a little peek at. And yeah, we're just going to take a real quick look at this first card. Then we'll get into the full reading itself. At the very end, I'll pull you a bonus card from the Shadowland Tarot, just to see what might be in the shadows or what shadow work you can lean into, which is always interesting. But let's get it going here. Let's rock and see what we got for Virgo. Late December, early January. We're switching a chapter into a brand new calendar year. Okay, cool. Very spiritual. Very, very spiritual. Bit of a mysterious energy when this card shows up. And it does give me shades of the Hierophant as well. So even though it looks very simplistic, there's a lot of depth to this. There's a lot of layers to the onion with this card. Now, before we fully dive into it, if you're new here, I'll be speaking about the December subscriber surprise towards the end, so you might want to check that out. And also, if you could kindly illuminate that like button by tapping it right on its third eye, I'd greatly appreciate it. But enough of the promo, back into the reading. Let's talk more in depth about this card. So as you can see, we have this individual. They are blindfolded, and there's all these different emblems of spirituality. So it seems like this person is like searching through them. So with this type of symbolism, it tells me their focus isn't on the outer world, not the external world. The energy is pulled inward. Now, for some Virgos, that might just be the vibe, right? You guys do get the Hermit as your power card. So some of you might be in inward focus, inward looking mode, whether you're doing spiritual research or you're reconnecting, or maybe you're just a little more private than you normally are. This is all like inward energy focus, which isn't a bad thing. Anything spiritual, highly favored when this card shows up. But yeah, the fact that this person is blindfolded, they are running from intuition and feel. So for a lot of you, your intuition could be heightened, your energetic sensitivity could be heightened. You see what I mean? Now, when I say it reminds me of the Hierophant, it just does. Like, it doesn't say anything about that in the explanations of this card, but it gives me that firm, authoritative, Hierophant type of energy, Hierophant, which means that maybe it's an energy that's not moving too quickly. So there might be certain things that are testing your patience a little bit, but we're just going to let him chill right there. They're doing their little exploration. Let's get into tarot. And yeah, I always like to say that first card doesn't make or break the reading. It's just a little footnote. So let's get you 3 tarot cards in the upright. Then we'll get into that intuitive juiciness. Shuffle it up one time here for the lovely Virgos. What do we got? And while we get this deck shuffled up and ready to go, let's talk about last week's reading. So it was titled An Explosive Breakthrough, and I did like the way the energy ended off, because the energy in the beginning, it felt a little set in place, very stern type of energy, not much moving. And then, boom, the energy did seem to build up pressure and break through in a way. So I hope if you did have a breakthrough, it was a positive one. And that could still be an energy around you in this time. So just know there could be a various amount of things that break through for you. But we're going to see what shows up this week. As you know, energy is very fluid, never set in stone. So only take this how it hits for you, because we could be seeing your vibe or somebody else, right? Let's get it going. 3 cards for Virgo, please. What do we got for our good friends? Late December. Thank you. Okay. So 2 cards came out. We got the Queen of Swords. I like her energy. She is stern. I mean, she's very honest. She gives things a very cold, hard look. She did come out with the 9 of Wands. So this is also something we need to take a look at, because the energy itself could be a little skeptical, right? There's a lot of analysis going on here with these first 2 cards. It's like very detailed, very like doing a lot of analysis. Okay, we got the 8 of Cups right here on the back end, which again, not a bad thing. It's just movement. So we need to see how this plays. And I believe this card also showed up in the Capricorn reading this week. So we have a nice mixture of stuff going on here, Virgo. Let's go through. I'll give you some of the classical meanings and archetypes. Then we'll get into that juicy, intuitive stuff. But at first glance, I always like to look at the elements first. It tells me how the energy is moving or the areas of life we could be looking at. And yeah, pretty good mixture. I always say when there's too much of one element, that's when energy could get a little wonky. But we have air, fire, and water. A lot of internal energy, on these outer edges. But the swords, that's the logical, pragmatic, plan-based type of energy. It's extremely cerebral, it's smart, it's intelligent, it's very sharp. Um, Swords can also link to communication. So we have like the thought process, and we also have the communication. Now, the downside to swords, sometimes it could be a little cold, sometimes it could be a little detached, sometimes a little aloof. So that's something we want to pay attention to as we move through the reading. But yeah, it's in the mind. Now, moving to the center, we have fire, the realm of action. The actions we take, the actions other people take, or lack thereof. Fire is definitely your internal engine, right? Your internal combustion. It's filled with passion, drive, and desire. So I like fire energy. It could be channeled. If channeled properly, it moves in a positive direction. The downside to fire could be a little uncontrollable, right? Like it's an energy that could get a little explosive, a little volatile, especially when we have the fire air combination right up here in the front. So something we'll look at. And on the back end, we have water. So the realm of feelings and emotions, the internals. So yeah, we have the mind and we have the heart showing up in two different ways. Now, the cups can also represent interpersonal relationships, any creative pursuit or endeavor. Uh, it's not as pragmatic as swords, but it can be like daydreaming and a lot of fantasizing. So we'll want to look at this cup energy. Cups, they're always flowing, always moving, and they do tap in closely to intuition. So there are some unknowns here. Let's go through and start building this out piece by piece, though. Position number one, we got the beautiful Queen of Swords. Now, big air sign energy. So whether you have air placements, it doesn't always have to be an air sign. Think Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. And I like the Queen of Swords. All queens represent the internal aspect of the suit. So we did speak in some detail about what the swords mean. And she definitely embodies that. If this isn't a person around you, maybe this is an energy you're stepping into. Now, the thing I like about the Queen of Swords, she is honest, she is straightforward, she is to the point. Um, I love her for that. There's a lot of intelligence. There's a lot of clarity. She could also be a strategist. There could be planning going on when she shows up. But the downside to this energy, sometimes it could be a little abrasive. Sometimes it could be cold, detached, aloof, or even mean. Sometimes she does show up when serious things are at play. So we do want to take a very close look at her. And I do think that when she shows up, it's usually a good thing because it either wants clarity or it brings it. Now, moving to the center, as we get her tucked back in here by the amethyst, we have the Nine of Wands, the wounded warrior. Okay, and usually this represents somebody that's hurting. They've been through something, dealing with a little bit of pain, someone that's been around the block a couple times and they might not want to repeat that again. Now, this doesn't all just have to deal with pain. The Nine of Wands, to me, in its positive sense, could be very protective. It could be very territorial. This card could definitely represent boundaries and walls, so to speak. But there's a lot of downsides to this card. Sometimes it could be feelings of rejection. Sometimes it could be feelings of abandonment. The Nine of Wands could be communication issues, so not really speaking at this point. So we do want to look at this closer and see, like, all right, is this just not speaking? Is it a rejection, or is it someone just being very protective? But as I mentioned earlier in the reading, when I see the Queen of Swords, Nine of Wands combination, there's a lot of analysis going on. So whether it's someone being extra cautious, extra safe, it's like I'm being very cautious and I'm looking at all the details. There's like a lot of analysis happening. Now, moving to the very back end, we have the Eight of Cups. And this card gets a bit of a bad reputation, sure. Sometimes it can represent walking away from something. Absolutely. But to me, I see it as neutral action. I don't always see it as like someone walking away from the Eight Cups. I think of walking towards the Nine, towards the wish fulfillment. So when I see the Eight of Cups, I think of progress. I think of action, whether it's actions you're taking or actions somebody else is taking. So it's good for that. But there is this unknown aspect. Notice that like it's nighttime and there's a moon in the sky. There's missing information or unknowns attached to certain situations. So I have a lot of questions. That's what I'm feeling when I see this Eight of Cups. So we'll see what that's all about. The combination, remember, it could be all one situation. It could be different things completely. It all really depends. But yeah, the big downside to the Eight of Cups could represent giving up on something or abandoning something, feeling a little hopeless. So I want to dive deeper on all of this, Virgo. Let's do it. Let's jump in and clarify. Okay, let's get a good shuffle here for you, my friends. What do we got for the Virgos? And yes, this is where I go intuitive with the message, which means I just tell you how it feels to me. So feel free to do further research or rely on your base knowledge of tarot, because as you know, every single reading is about the reader's interpretation, and I'm just giving you mine. Let's go in on the Queen of Swords. Oh, yes, if you're a reader yourself, please feel free to play along. That's why the box is here. If you're feeling any messages you want to give to Virgo, you could drop it in the comments. I don't mind at all. Okay, Queen of Swords. What is she doing? Why is the Queen of Swords here? Okay, being very specific. Interesting. Very interesting. So we have the Queen of Wands in the upright. I feel very stimulated for some reason. I don't know why that or how that applies to whatever your situation is, but like when I see the Queen of Swords and the Queen of Wands, that fire air combination, it's like I'm feeling hot and I'm feeling stimulated. I feel like there's a lot of energy coursing. So for some Virgos, again, if you're energy sensitive, just know like this energy could bleed over to you where you might be feeling a lot of different things, a lot of different energies, because the energy to me just feels very stimulated. That's the best sense. So watch out for overstimulation, whether it's like taking in information, or you might be looking at something, or you might be dealing with certain situations and it's like I'm overloading myself. So either it's that or just that extra stimulated type of vibe. Now the Queen of Wands, she can deal with aesthetics and confidence. When I see her, if you're not connected to a fire sign, remember it's not gender specific. She represents feeling good, confident, bold, sexy, and how one presents themselves to the world. So Queen of Swords, Queen of Wands, that combination, it's like it's hitting on all cylinders here. So I do feel a very intense, fiery energy right here on the front. And as an earth sign, uh, that could sometimes overstimulate a Virgo. Again, right? The intensity. So we're just going to keep moving. We're going to take that. We're going to note that. And we're going to keep moving. Yeah, it is a serious energy here on the front, but I want to see how it plays out, because this is the buildup. This is the buildup. It's an energy that's building, 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 building. Let's see how it goes. We're going to go in on that Nine of Wands now. Very intriguing. I haven't seen that type of energy in a while, where it just feels so stimulated. But why is the Nine of Wands here? Okay. Repression. Repression. Okay, this is something to be aware of or watch out for. So we have the Seven of Cups in reverse underneath this Nine of Wands. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to focus on it. It's like very repressed in its ways. So again, I'm not saying it's you. It could be someone you're dealing with. But when I see all this energy where it's like the buildup, the tension, the stimulation, then the repression, these are two forces that are pushing against each other. That's how this feels to me. Now, can this energy be channeled in a good way? Absolutely, it can, Virgo. I'm not being a doomer here about this. It doesn't mean that things are just going to go haywire for you. It just feels very intense, right? And it just needs to be channeled in the proper avenues. Now, the Seven of Cups usually represents options, choices, paths. It does also tie into manifestation and creation, but it's also the mindset. So when I see it in reverse underneath the Nine of Wands, it's like I'm trying to edit my thoughts, or I'm trying to purposely not think about something. But the more I try to not think about something, the more I think about that thing. So like I get somebody trying to like edit their mind, and there is that like suppression happening. So again, I'm not saying to, it could be someone else. Let's keep going. But there is a lot of tension up here in the front. That's one thing I could tell you for sure. Like I'm even feeling it within myself while I read this. It's like tension, these forces, friction. Let's go in on the Eight of Cups. Let's see what that has. I mean, it makes sense. Like last week, how we had like the breakthrough energy, like we got the build up, and maybe we have the release. But let's see what's happening with the Eight of Cups. We'll see if it's a good one. Why is that Eight of Cups here for my Virgos? Thank you. Okay. So when I see this combination of energy, and this does feel like a flight response, and I saw something very similar in the Capricorn reading. So if you have Capricorn and Virgo placements, these energies and readings might be aligned, because when I get the Eight of Cups and the Ace of Cups in reverse, it's either too much too soon, or it's that overstimulation. We are seeing the action. I don't want to say this is somebody abandoning, but it's like I'm overstimulated and I don't know where to put the energy, and it just goes. It just does something. It just takes an action. Now, I feel like the situation in and of itself should be taken seriously, right? Like when I see this combination up here in the front and the response, there needs to be some way to vent some of this buildup, right? Because we have the pressure, the build, the stimulation, then we have like the suppression, there needs to be a slow, steady release of this energy, because if not, the energy gets explosive on the back end, just like we saw last week. So whether it's you making a move, someone taking an action, it feels like too much too soon to me. Now the Ace of Cups, pardon me, is a card of communication. It represents good potential, represents potential for growth, but at the same time, it's never a guarantee. So when I see it in reverse, it could also represent someone's emotional state, where it's like this tension, it's overload, like it's overload. So whether this whole reading is an emotional warning or an important warning in general about the energy around you at this time, I'm overstimulated and I'm overloaded. Um, again, could be someone else you're dealing with, but it just feels like too much, and it's overstimulated. But there's ways to solve that, and I'm not going to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. If this reading is hitting for you, like I'm sure you have your own ways to manage energy like this, but it is very front and center this week. Let's go through and do a quick recap, then we'll get into the shadow card. So, very intriguing mixture of stuff this week, Virgo. Just feels super intense, but if you kindly look in the box, position number one, Queen of Swords, Queen of Wands, so the fire air mixture. To me, it's just overstimulated. That's the best way to put it, or it's stimulation, or it's just build up, build up, build up. Doesn't necessarily feel bad, but it gets a little clunky when we get into the center, because we have the pressure buildup and then we have the repression, the pushing down. We have the Nine of Wands with the Seven of Cups in reverse. Watch out for trying to edit one's mind, edit one's thoughts. I will not think about this. Watch out for thought loops and rumination. That could be a big thing with this energy here in the center. But these two energies are causing friction. They're pressing and rubbing against each other. Moving to the back end, we have the Eight of Cups with the Ace of Cups in reverse. So that overwhelmed, too much too soon, or it's like a flight response where it's like this just builds up so much, pew, this energy just goes and does something. So I feel like this could be an overall emotional warning, or an important one, just with all the pressure buildup that I'm seeing and the reaction on the end. So just make sure things don't get too intense, or try your best, right? I mean, all you could do is try your best. Please take a screenshot if you want to look into it further. Let's see what's in the shadows. Okay, let's get a good shuffle here for you. And yeah, I always like to pull one shadow card at the very end, just to see whether it's something within you or something you don't quite see. Shadow cards don't always have to be a challenge, they could be a good thing too. So let's get you one. And yeah, if you made it to this point in the reading, please feel free to check out channel memberships. I'll put a link for it in the comments below. It's a beautiful way to support the channel, and I have much love for all my channel members. Okay, let's get this going here. What do we got for Virgo? Thank you. Yeah. Four Cups. And remember that big message I was getting about like trying to edit my mind, edit my thoughts? Nothing wrong with that. But the Four of Cups shows up in the shadows. Similar to the Seven of Cups, these cards are very familiar to each other. Now, the classic version of this card is that lady sitting under a tree, just pondering away, doing a lot of daydreaming. So just like we saw here, watch out for the rumination, thought loops, things like that could be in play when we look at the shadow side of the Four of Cups. Now, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of uh, mental adventuring, so to speak, like la la land, daydreaming, fantasizing. Nothing wrong with it, as long as it's not too much. So when I see this, maybe it's a mental escape, or maybe it's escapism in some sort of way. That's very possible when this card is here, but it can also be overthinking. So we're going to put it down right there and watch out for the overstimulation, but we'll let Garfield the cat keep thinking. That's what I have for you this week, Virgo. Don't click away just yet, though. I'm going to give you the details of the December subscriber surprise. If you would like further clarification on your situation, you can book a personal reading with me at my website, mastermetaphysics.com. My December schedule is live right now, and the spots go quick, so go check it out, see what's available if you want to have a chat with me. But for the December subscriber surprise, I'm giving away 3 copies of one of my favorite decks for all skill levels, the Gilded Tarot Royale. So if you'd like to get your name in for this, it's 2 simple things, as always, my friends. First, you must be subscribed, and second, let me know down in the comments, out of all the tarot cards, which one do you resonate with most? When you see it in a reading, it's like, yeah, that's me. Put your answer in the comments. You'll be entered to win. And at the end of the month, the winners will be announced in the community tab. As always, my friends, much love, and I'll see you soon.